I had barely stepped out of my truck when the air went still. 10 years gone, and nothing had changed. Not the gravel road, not the oak tree by the gate, not even the crooked Maple Creek HOA sign that hadn't been there when this land was mine. The house I'd built with my father still stood strong, though the paint had faded and the porch creaked a little. I took a slow breath, smiling. "Home," I whispered. That's when I heard the voice, sharp, familiar, poisoned with that same arrogance I remembered all too well. "Well, well, look who decided to crawl back." I turned, and there she was, Karen Holloway. Same perfect haircut, same fake designer sunglasses, same superiority complex that could choke a horse. She was flanked by a tall man in a police uniform, except something about him didn't sit right. The badge was off-center, the patches looked faded, mismatched. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "I'm just here to check on my property. Been gone a while." She snorted. "Your property? Honey, this land's been under HOA control for years. You left it abandoned. It's community managed now." "Community managed," I repeated, stepping closer. "Funny, because the deed's still in my name." Karen crossed her arms. "That's not possible. We had it rezoned, reclassified, and reassigned. You don't belong here anymore." Then she nodded toward the man in uniform. "Officer, do your job." The cop straightened up, puffing his chest. "Sir, you need to vacate the premises immediately or face arrest for trespassing." I stared at his badge. No department name, just Security Division. I almost laughed. "Where's your cruiser, officer?" He blinked. "It's, parked up the road." "Which department?" I pressed. Karen rolled her eyes. "He doesn't have to tell you that. He's with our HOA enforcement unit." I smirked. "So, not a cop?" Her expression twisted. "He's certified," she snapped. "We have full authority to remove trespassers." I took out my phone, started recording. "Then you won't mind saying your badge number for the camera, officer." He hesitated, hand twitching near his belt. "Sir, stop recording." "I don't think so, because impersonating a police officer in this state, that's a felony." Karen's face turned white. "Turn that off." "I'll turn it off," I said, stepping forward, "as soon as you explain why you're on my land trying to fake an eviction." Her voice broke. "You abandoned it. You don't deserve it. People like you don't even—" She caught herself, but it was too late. That tone, that entitlement, that venom said it all. I glanced at her car, and that's when I noticed something new. A clipboard with pre-filled notice of seizure papers, complete with a fake county seal. "You forged government forms, too?" I said quietly. "Those are official documents." "No, they're not," I cut her off. "Those are crimes." Just then, a real sheriff's cruiser turned onto the road, its lights flashing faintly in the distance. I smiled. "And it looks like your little act's about to end." The fake cop froze. Karen's face went from anger to panic in a heartbeat. "Don't say anything," she hissed at him. "Just get in the car." But the sheriff's car was already pulling up. The deputy stepped out, hand resting on his holster, eyes scanning the scene. "What's going on here?" I held up my phone. "She brought a fake cop to throw me off my own land." The real officer's eyes narrowed. He turned to Karen's enforcer. "Badge, now." The man tried to mumble something, but the sheriff didn't wait. Within seconds, the fake cop was cuffed, his security badge dangling uselessly from his chest. Karen shouted, "You can't do this! I'm part of the HOA board!" The sheriff turned to her. "Then you know trespassing and impersonation laws better than anyone. You'll be hearing from us." She screamed as he led the man away, her voice echoing down the dirt road. "This isn't over! You'll regret coming back!" I looked at her calm as the breeze. "I already regret leaving, because I let people like you think they owned this land." Her glare burned holes in me as she stormed off, tires kicking up dust. I stood there, hands on my belt, looking out over the fields my father and I once plowed. 10 years gone, and the land was still mine. But I knew that look in her eyes. She wasn't done. Karen never quit until she lost everything.
3 days passed before I saw her again. I'd spent those days cleaning the place, patching the fence, and replacing the old locks. The air smelled like pine and dust. just like when my dad and I first built the cabin. I almost started to believe she'd let it go, until I woke up to the sound of engines. I walked out barefoot, coffee mug in hand. 4 SUVs lined the dirt road, blocking my gate. Karen stood at the front, arms crossed, sunglasses flashing in the morning sun like she was leading a military raid. Behind her were 4 men in black polos, marked HOA Compliance Task Force. She smirked when she saw me. "Good morning, trespasser." "Morning," I said. "Still pretending you run the county?" She ignored that. "You were warned. You refused to vacate. So, by order of the Maple Creek Homeowners Association, your property is being seized today." "Seized?" I raised an eyebrow. "By who, Karen? The Community Gardening Club?" She gestured to her men. "By them. Step aside or we'll move you by force." I took a slow sip of coffee, steady as ever. "You sure you want to do that? Last time your officer tried that, he left in handcuffs." Her smile didn't fade this time. "Oh, we learned from that. These are licensed private enforcers, fully legal. And this time," she snapped her fingers, "we're live streaming too." That got my attention. Her men held up phones, already recording, trying to frame me as the aggressor. Karen started narrating, voice dripping with mock sympathy. "This is what happens when people think laws don't apply to them. Poor man can't accept that his property belongs to the community now." I chuckled quietly. "Community? You mean your bank account?" Her smile twitched. "Gentlemen," she said sharply, "remove him." 2 of the men started toward me, big and confident. I didn't move. When they got close enough, I set my mug down on the porch railing and said, calm as a whisper, "Step 1 more inch and I call the sheriff. Again. Except this time, I'll let him see the footage from my gate camera." Karen frowned. "What footage?" "The footage," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket, "of you trespassing here last week with a fake cop and forged documents." The color drained from her face. I swiped my screen, showing a clear shot of her car, her face, her so-called officer waving a fake badge. "You really think the DA won't love this?" She stammered. That's not admissible. You can't." "Actually, it's perfectly admissible, especially since it's already been sent to the county sheriff, 3 news outlets, and a certain federal friend of mine who really enjoys watching HOA scams fall apart." Her mouth opened, then closed. One of her enforcers lowered his phone, whispering, "Ma'am, is this real?" She snapped at him, "Shut up and do your job!" But it was too late. The rumble of another engine came from down the road, a sheriff's SUV. Again. Karen's face twisted. "You called them already?" I shrugged. Didn't have to. My gate camera sends automatic alerts for trespass attempts. The deputy stepped out. Same one as before, hand already on his belt. "Morning, folks. What's going on this time?" Karen straightened her jacket. "Officer, this man—" He cut her off. "Save it, Miss Holloway. I saw your name in the case file this morning. You're not supposed to be anywhere near this property." She froze. "Case file?" "Yep," he said. "Sheriff's Department and the DA are investigating you and your HOA board for fraud, forgery, and impersonation. You're lucky you're not already in cuffs." Her live stream ended right there. One of her enforcers muttered, "Ma'am, I'm not getting arrested for this," and backed off. The others followed. Karen screamed, "You cowards! He's lying!" But they were already climbing back into the SUVs. The deputy gave me a nod. "You want me to have her removed again?" I smiled. "No, let her walk this time. I want her to see what real justice looks like, from the outside." As Karen stormed off down the dirt road, kicking gravel, she shouted, "You'll regret this! I'll burn this place down before I let you keep it!" The deputy turned to me. "You want me to take that as a threat?" I looked out over the land, the sun rising over the ridge, and I said, "No, you'll hear from her again. People like Karen don't stop until they hit a wall." And in my mind, I was already building that wall, one she'd never climb over again. She came back like a storm, darker, faster, with a man who kept his hood up and smelled like cheap diesel. He crept to the back fence at midnight while Karen paced the road, phone glued to her ear, whispering orders like someone giving final instructions before a job. I watched from the window and felt that old, cold focus settle in. I didn't call first. I didn't need to. I had already told 2 reporters where to be. The sheriff had my live feed link, and one of Karen's own enforcers, the one who'd wavered when the deputies showed up, had agreed to meet me and wear a wire. He wanted out, and the price of his shame was the truth. They moved like they thought they were invisible. The man with the lighter slipped through the gap and bent to put something small and foul by the old fuel drum behind my shed. Karen's voice came through the wire clear as a bell. "Make it look like an accident. No one will miss an old house." The words punched the air. The enforcer's breathing changed. He whispered, "You told me you'd pay my dad's bills." Then the lighter clicked. That's when the night turned. Headlights flooded the yard, sheriff, reporter vans, and a county arson investigator who stepped out slow and sure. My neighbor had a hose in his hands, and 2 others stood with cameras aimed. The arsonist started, spun, then bolted. He ran straight into deputies waiting at the far gate. Karen screamed and lunged for the car, but the county investigator walked up to her and held up a stack of bank records and texts. "We traced every dollar," he said. "You wired him $3,000 2 nights ago. Say something." She tried to scream and lie. Instead, the wire in the enforcer's ear filled the yard with her voice, the exact phrase she'd used to plan the accident. The arsonist looked at the deputies and then at Karen, and for a second he did what frightened men do. He told the truth. He named names. He named the developer who'd been waiting to buy the burned lot at a discount. He named the account where the money came from. His confession was the second twist. Not only had she plotted arson, she'd been selling land to people who wanted fire to clear titles. As they slid the cuffs on her, she spat, "You set me up!" But the camera had already recorded her calls and her transfers. The county froze her accounts that night. The DA had a sealed subpoena ready. The developer's phone rang with deputies on the other end. Karen's empire wasn't collapsing, it was being dismantled in real time. Neighbors gathered, some crying, some quietly furious. My daughter stood beside me, small and wide-eyed, and I put my hand on her shoulder. She whispered, "Are we safe now?" I looked at the woman being led away and at the ruined drum they'd meant to use and said, "We stopped them from burning our home. That's the safest kind of victory." Before they closed the cruiser door, Karen glared at me and tried one last shove of menace. "You think this ends with me?" Her voice cracked like thin glass. The lead investigator looked toward the road where reporters were already typing headlines and answered for all of us, calm and steady. "We'll find the rest. We always do." The viral line that night was simple and sharp. It spread faster than anything the HOA ever printed. You don't get to torch other people's lives to buy their land. And then to the porch light, with cameras still warm and deputies thanking neighbors, I realized the final twist wasn't just that she'd failed. It was that the community she tried to own had learned to fight back together.